Hi, Math 10s. There's one additional question that I need to do from Lesson 6. So Lesson 6 was on parallel and perpendicular lines. So open up your workbook to page 540, and we're going to do class example 5 together, and then I'll assign some homework questions, and I'll do one of the homework questions with you. Okay, so what class example 5 says is it says two lines have slopes of -3/4 and k/5. Find the value of k if the lines are parallel. So one of the things we have to remember about parallel is if two line segments are parallel, their slopes are equal. So slope of line 1 is equal to slope of line 2. So if these two slopes are parallel, I simply have to just make them equal to one another. So -3/4 is equal to k/5. Then what we're going to do is we're just going to cross multiply. So we would say, okay, -3 times 5 is -15, and that is equal to 4 times k is 4k. From here, we need to isolate k. So get rid of that 4, divide this side by 4 and this side by 4, and k is equal to -15/4. So on your calculators, type in -15 divided by 4, and that is -3.75. So that's our answer. And it looks a little bit messy, but I'm going to show you how you're going to check this. So I'm going to take this k out and I'm going to put in the answer. So we said that k was equal to -3.75, and I'm going to divide that by 5. What I want you to do is I want you to type that into your calculators and then math 1 fraction it. So on your calculator, we've got that -3.75 divided by 15, and then math 1 fraction. That is -1/4. And what did I do wrong? -3.75 divided by 5. Oops. Okay, sorry. -3.75 divided by 5 gives me -0.75. Math 1 fraction that answer, and we get -3/4. So let's rewrite that. This is -3/4. So what do you notice? Remember that parallel means equal. If this guy is -3/4, when I plug my k value in, I get -3/4. So slope of line 1 equals slope of line 2. They are parallel. Now what we're going to do is we're going to find our k value for b if these two are perpendicular. So what do you have to remember for perpendicular? For perpendicular, what you have to remember is that the slope of line 1 times the slope of line 2 is equal to -1. That's what we have to know. So this guy, -3/4, times this guy, k/5, is equal to -1. Let's multiply these two fractions together and see what we get. So -3 times k is -3k. 4 times 5 is 20, and that is equal to -1. Let's just do the same thing we did in A. Let's write both as fractions, cross multiply, and solve. So I'm going to put this over 1, and I'm going to cross multiply. So -3k times 1 is -3k, and that's equal to -20. We need to get k by itself, so get rid of that -3, and how you get rid of it is dividing this side by -3 and this side by -3, and I'm going to get a value of k to be -20 divided by -3, so let's see what that is. -20 divided by -3, really I don't need to enter both negatives, but the answer is 6.6 repeating. Keep that stored in your calculator because we're going to do something with that answer. So 6.7 repeating, or sorry, 6.6 repeating, that's my answer. Okay, how are we going to check this? What we're going to do is we're going to take this, and we just calculated k to be 6.6 repeating over 5. So I want you to use that number stored on your calculator and divide it by 5. So this number divided by 5 gives me this, and we're going to math one fraction it. So math one fraction gives me 4 over 3. Okay, so let's see if that makes sense. The first slope was -3/4, right? -3/4. If I said what's perpendicular to that, you would give me the negative inverse. So the inverse of 3 over 4 is 4 over 3. And if this guy is negative, this guy is positive. So the perpendicular slope to -3/4 is 4 over 3. And that's exactly what I got when I get a K value of 6.6. So to see if you sort of understood this class example, there's a couple questions in your workbook that I want you to now do. So to practice, you're going to do number 7. So I forget if I assigned that in the last video or not, but you're going to make sure you can do number 7. And then you're going to do 10, and you're going to do 11. So for number 10, in each case, the slopes of parallel lines are given. So write yourself your note, parallel lines, slope of line 1 is equal to slope of line 2. So for this example, 4 is equal to k over 3. Convert 4 to a fraction, and let's cross multiply and solve for k. So 4 times 3 is 12, and that is equal to 1k. Divide both sides by 1, and k is equal to 12. Let's see if that makes sense. If I put a 12 up here, 12 divided by 3 is 4. And that should make sense in your minds, right? You should say 4 is equal to 4. If they have the same slopes, they are parallel. Okay, for number 11, the slopes are perpendicular. So make your little note of what perpendicular is. The slope of line 1 times the slope of line 2 is equal to -1. If they're perpendicular, that would always be the case. So if I did B, it would be this times 8 over P is equal to -1. I'm going to turn that 4 into a fraction. 4 times 8 is 32. 1 times P is 1P is equal to -1 over 1. From here, we would cross multiply. So 32 times 1 is 32 is equal to 1 times -1 is -1p. And then you would divide this side by -1, you would divide this side by -1, and p is equal to -32. So 11b, p is -32. I always like to check this. So 8 over -32, let's see what we would get. 8 divided by -32. That's going to give me -1/4. So -1/4. And the first slope was this guy, which is 4 over 1. And if I said to you, well, what's perpendicular to 4 over 1? You would flip it and you'd put a negative in front. So perpendicular to 4 over 1 is -1/4. And how we would get that is if p is -32. Okay, so practice those last 3 questions, 7, 10, and 11.